My name is Angelica, and I am a Writing Center tutor in the Cal State Fullerton Writing Center. Today, we are going to be going over basic body paragraph outlining. I will not be going over intros and conclusions today, but there is another video up on the website, so I highly recommend going and taking a look at that if we still need some assistance or insight on intros and conclusions. But for now, we're going to be focusing on body paragraphs, and I'm going to be showing you all a technique that I learned some time ago called teal. Now, before we really get into what teal is, we need to get into some outlining tips and tricks. Your outline, especially in the first sitting, does not have to be complete. You can go back and fill in information as you go, as you research and acquire more information. You can also change, update, delete, or add information. Let's say you like one article one day, you don't like it so much the next day. That's okay. Find a different article to use in your body paragraph. You can also change topics completely. Now, do this within a reasonable time frame, especially if you have a rough draft coming up. And if you were assigned a topic, make sure you get your professor's permission to switch first before you do. Make sure you can always just fill in information as you go. Let's say you don't have all the information for your first body paragraph. That's okay. Move on to the second body paragraph. And don't worry about complete sentences. Unless it was assigned as part of the assignment to write incomplete sentences for your outline, you can bullet note, you can just leave yourself little notes for yourself. That's okay too. And most importantly, try to have some fun. You don't have to love English. You don't even have to be an English major. But we want students to try and pick topics and have topics to explore that are engaging and interesting to make things a little bit easier. So what exactly is TEAL? So TEAL is just an acronym, which means that each letter stands for a different thing. T is for topic sentence, E is for evidence, A is for analysis, and L is for link back to thesis, which is just a fancy way of saying a transition. And this is how the body paragraphs will end up looking, with a topic sentence at the top, evidence and analysis in the middle, and a link back to thesis or transition at the very bottom. So let's break down TEAL a little bit more. So the good thing about TEAL is that it's a lot of guidelines and fill in the blank questions that can be used to really start building the body paragraph. So for the topic sentence, we have a fill in the blank question. How does the point of the paragraph support, prove, show, etc.? That part doesn't matter. You just pick whatever word works there. The thesis or main idea of the essay. Whatever the answer to this question ends up being, that becomes your topic sentence. Next is the evidence and examples, which can include quotes, statistics, data, research, hypotheticals, real life examples, things that you can look up, etc. Don't forget to explain what an example means, especially if it's coming from an outside source or somebody else said it. Make sure you really break down what is being said in that example. Don't be afraid to simplify examples either, especially if you're using terminology that your audience may not know about or subjects that your classmates are not familiar with. We really want to break down those concepts so that they understand them better. And do use as much of your own words as possible. Now, we're not saying you can't use quotes or paraphrasing or summarizing. We do want those things in our body paragraphs. We don't want it to dominate the paragraph. We want the majority of the paragraph to be what you are arguing and the analysis, which comes in two parts. One, how does the example I just wrote, which means if you have multiple examples, you have to do this per example. So how does the example I just wrote support, prove, or show the point of the paragraph? And how does the example I just wrote support, prove, or show the thesis or main idea? And these are color-coded to show the parallel structure here. The point of the paragraph is in purple, which is the same point of the paragraph that's in purple in the topic sentence. And the thesis or main idea in red is the same thesis or main idea that's in the topic sentence as well. So those are connected. Last, we have the link back to thesis or the transition. And we're trying to do two things with that. We're trying to summarize the paragraph that we just wrote in one sentence and also connect it to the next sentence or the next paragraph or the next point that we're going to be making. So now that we have a little bit of a better understanding of teal, let's pick a topic and start to integrate what we just learned. So I have this little random wheel spinner here that has a couple of fun topics on it. Are dogs better than cats? Can plants feel emotions? What is kindness? Why do you look up to blank? And I'll just insert a person that I look up to there. And why is blank movie the best? And I'll just insert whatever movie I think is the best there. So let's spin. All right, so we have why do you look up to blank? And I'm going to make this a little bit easy here. I'm just going to pick my dad. So what we're going to do is we're going to come over here, and I already have all this teal stuff written out. I do recommend definitely taking and rewriting these fill in the blank questions and even some of these guidelines. You can copy and paste if you're doing this online to make things a little bit easier. That's okay too. So what we're going to do first is we're going to put our thesis topic or our question that we're being asked at the top here, which is, why do I look up to my dad? And I'm going to go ahead and answer this. I'm not going to be going over thesis statements today, but there is another video up if you want to get some more insight or advice on writing thesis statements. So here, I'm going to go ahead and just answer the question. Why do I look up to my dad? I look up to my dad because he is a very strong person. He takes care of his family, and he has always supported me. Now, I wrote 3 points here because these are going to become our 3 body paragraphs. But for the sake of Teal today, I'm just going to be focusing on the first point. And so that is another point to be made about Teal, is that Teal is per point. So once we move on to the second point, he takes care of his family, we would have to start Teal all over again. But for now, we're just going to be focusing on he is a very strong person. And that's going to become my purple point, the point of the paragraph. So we have another fill in the blank question here. We have our first fill in the blank. How does my dad is a very strong person? I just like the word support. That I look up to my dad. And this sentence is this question is a little bit clunky. That's okay. We're going to go ahead and revise it a little bit to clear it up. So how does my dad, being a strong person, support why I look up to him? And I'm going to go ahead and answer that. My dad, being a strong person, is why I look up to him. And there we have it. That is a very basic topic sentence. It's not perfect, and we can probably reword it a little bit later, but for now, that's all we really need. We have the 2 things that we need in our topic sentence. We have the point of the paragraph and the connection back to the thesis. Next, we have examples and evidence. Now, I recommend having at least 2. More can sometimes be better, but you also don't want to have too many. So I'd say the sweet spot is anywhere between 2 to 4 examples. 4 is for usually a little bit of a longer essay. 2 or 3 is usually good for a shorter essay. So my reasoning is that my dad was a firefighter, or a volunteer firefighter at least. Firefighter. My dad worked on and fixed motorcycles. And that's really all I need right now. I'm just going to stick with 2 points. So when we come down to the analysis and we see this part here that says, how does the example I just wrote, we have, I cannot spell motorcycles correctly today. We have 2 examples. I'm just going to be using that first one. My dad was a volunteer firefighter. I'm going to highlight that. So that's the one that we're going to be using for the first 2 analysis questions. So how does my dad was a volunteer support that, and we're going to come back, and here's the purple point again. So the purple point is that my dad is a strong person, support that my dad is strong. And 2, how does my dad was a volunteer firefighter support that I look up to my dad? Now, because we don't have any research or things to do yet, we don't really have to answer these questions just yet. We can if we want to, but if in the meantime, we can just leave these here and move on to the next thing, which is a link back to thesis. Now, because we don't have a paragraph written, we can't really have it transition just yet, but I can make a note to myself that we're going to connect the point I just made. So connect my dad being strong to whatever the next point is. I'm going to come back up to the top. He takes care of his family. We're going to stick that down here. So connect my dad being strong to him taking care of his family. And that is about it. This is a very skeletal outline, but this is what the process is going to look like. And as you get more information and do more research, you're going to be adding more to each of these sections, to the examples and evidence section, to the analysis section, and then adding your transition at the end. But for now, that's about it. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing here. Thank you all for your time, for sitting through the workshop with me. I hope you have a great rest of your semester, a great rest of your year. Stay safe, and goodbye.